Mohammed resigns. Governor Akredolu charges youth to leverage government empowerment programs for self-reliance. Assistant Inspector General Police Mohammed Akira resumes with warning to criminals to quit Ondo and Ekiti State. And from the foreign scene, G7 leaders vow to reinforce Ukraine with military support as Russia resists mediation efforts. Thanks for joining us on the news tonight. We sincerely apologize for bringing the news behind schedule. Oluwatoyin Omodara is my name. Justice Olukayode Ariwola of the Supreme Court has taken the judicial oath of office as acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN. President Muhammadu Buhari administered the oath of office to Justice Ariwola during a swearing-in ceremony held at the Council Chamber of the Presidential Villa in Abuja. 62-year-old Ariwola, who takes over from the outgone CJN, Justice Tanko Muhammad, is expected to serve in acting capacity till further confirmation by the National Judicial Council, NJC. While taking the judicial oath, he swore to be faithful and bear true allegiance to the federal government of Nigeria, as well as defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Justice Muhammad had resigned as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, citing ill health as the reason for his decision. This led to the inauguration of Justice Ariwola, the next most senior justice of the Supreme Court at the time of Justice Muhammad's resignation. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has conferred the second highest national honor, the Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON, on the immediate past Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad. Speaking while swearing in Justice Olukayode Ariwola as acting Chief Justice of Nigeria at the State House, President Buhari said the award was being conferred on the jurist for the good work he did while at the saddle as CJN. He said under Justice Muhammad's watch, the judiciary judiciously exercised its powers in line with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In the meantime, the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, Olumide Akpata, has called on the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, to reform the nation's judiciary and restore public confidence in the third arm of government. Mr. Akpata, in a statement while reacting to the resignation of the former CJN, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, reiterated the need for urgent reforms in the judiciary, urging the incoming Chief Justice to make judicial reform and the restoration of public confidence in the judiciary his first task. The NBA president pledged the readiness of the bar to work together with Justice Ariwola in addressing the ills that have continued to plague not just the judiciary, but the entire legal profession. He also thanked the outgone Chief Justice for the cordial working relationship between the bar and the bench during his tenure and wished him a quick recovery and well-deserved peaceful retirement. 129 lawyers have been shortlisted by the Legal Practitioners Privileges Committee, LPPC, for the conferment of the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, SAN, in 2022. The list, which was published pursuant to paragraph 12, subsection 2 and 20 of the Legal Practitioners Privileges Committee Guidelines of 2018, has 73 practicing lawyers and 56 academic applicants. Foremost on the list are the son of the First Republic Senate President Oji Onwafo Orizo, son of former Attorney General of the Federation, a Minister of Justice Ekani Kano Agabi, among others. A statement by the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court, who doubles as Secretary of the LPPC, Ajo Sarike Bello, said the shortlist comprised candidates who passed through the advocate filtration stages and academic pre-qualification exercise. Sarike Bello asked members of the public who have comments on any of the candidates to make the same before 4 p.m. on July 18 with 20 copies of such complaints in line with the guidelines. A new Assistant Inspector General of Police has assumed office in charge of the Nigerian Police Force Zone 17, Akure comprising Ondo and Ekiti State. He is Mr. Mohammed Akira, who resumed duty in Akure, the Ondo State capital. Mr. Akira promised on behalf of the Nigerian Police Force full cooperation with security agencies for the protection of lives and property in the two states. Akira described Ondo and Ekiti states as peaceful and blessed, adding that the police would do everything to maintain the peace being enjoyed by the inhabitants. Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu has encouraged youth to leverage on government empowerment programs to reduce unemployment in the country. Akeredolu advised the future leaders at a two-day capacity building in Akure, Ondo State capital, organized by the State Ministry of Youth and Sport Development. Zimo Ebiemi report as narrated from our studio.
The two-day capacity building organized by Ondo State Ministry of Youth and Sports Development in collaboration with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council is to draw youth attention to the potentials of non-oil exports. Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, represented by the Secretary to the State Government Oladuni Odu, appreciated the ministry for the initiative and urged the youth to maximize the training program.
Available records indicate that about 4 million youths enter the labor market annually against the few jobs available in Nigeria. The scenario is worrisome and not acceptable to our administration. Hence, they need to change the negative narratives. This is why we have prioritized investment in our youth as encapsulated in our 8-point regime agenda.
The governor, who noted that white-collar jobs are difficult to come by these days, tasked the youth to leverage on government's empowerment program.
Now, the Commissioner for Youth and Sports had been enjoined to go and look for ways of empowering the youth. And he has taken the bull by the horn, gone to the NEPC, so that we can partner with them. And that's what we are seeing today. Because knowledge is power, knowledge is wealth. If after the 2 days, the people will be knowledgeable, how do we even source for fund? Now oil is going out of, we are not going to have oil. In a few years' time, there will be no oil in Nigeria. What do we do? What can we export? And that's why we are here.
The Executive Director, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Dr. Ezra Yakuzak, who was represented on the occasion, said government would continue to give necessary support to prepare youth for the future.
In the country today, the youth are disillusioned. But I want to advise them that they should not be disillusioned. They should not give up. That I think we're looking forward to better days. There's no government that will see things going bad and just rest on its oars. So I just want to tell them that the federal government, the state government, they are doing everything they can.
The State Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development, Mr. Bamidele Ologun, and the resource person, Mr. Kolawe, appealed to youth to strive for excellence.
They should take advantage of this unique opportunity, and it's good for them. They should remember to channel their energies positively towards this, and they will be better for it.
Export is the lifeline for the Nigerian economy, and it's better to catch them young. So we're going back towards the youth to catch them and start changing the narratives and training them in the area of export, from export documentation, export processes, export procedure, export sourcing.
Our participant, Mr. Bewaji Ayodele, commended the organizers and urged other beneficiaries to reflect the training in their daily engagement. Capacity building for the nation's teeming youth to achieve self-reliance amid unemployment trend has become inevitable to grow the country's economy and stem the tide of crime.
Vote buying. Nigerians raise alarm on threat to democracy. Details of these and other stories will come your way after this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook, OSRC TV Ondo, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel OSRC TV Ondo. Now to the rest of the bulletin. Vote buying has unconsciously crept into Nigeria's political trajectory, and to all intents and purposes the abnormality seems to be enjoying its momentum. But most patriotic Nigerians have raised the red flag, arguing that vote buying is not a good road to travel, else the country's democracy slides into a ditch. Juliet Bonner reports that the consensus raises a grave concern about the unholy transaction.
They say seeing is believing. These two young ladies allegedly flaunting money received after selling their votes to buyer or buyers, as the case may be, on behalf of party candidates or candidates. It has become an open transaction and gladly embraced by electorates as a share of national cake. A clear departure from those days when rampant and widespread ballot box snatching, political thuggery, and falsification of figures at collation centers defined election rigging in Nigeria. Today, vote buying and selling is the name of the game. Election observers, monitoring groups, and civil society organizations have coined vote buying as a new way of rigging elections by political actors in the country. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) was said to have arrested some persons for alleged vote buying during the recent governorship election in Ekiti State. While vote buying is punishable under the Nigerian Electoral Act, but the enforcement of the law remains a challenge.
To hash out a serious plan on how to enforce it. Enforcement. For instance, some people are arrested in Ekiti. Let's get these people to courts. Let them be prosecuted. Not just them. Let's get more people. In some of these communities, some of these streets, they know the agents or parties who distribute this money. Some of them get this money the night before, or that morning, or the morning of the election. Let's raid those rumored agents of political parties who are coming to distribute money. Let's raid them in the morning. Let's raid them at night. Well, if anybody we find cash around the polling unit, let's arrest them. Let's prosecute them. By the time we start using people as examples, everybody will sit up. But the way we have done it now, we're making it free for all.
There's supposed to be a mobile court. Immediately.
Referencing the just concluded governorship election in Ekiti State, an observer, Mr. Martins Alo, prescribed technology as one of the ways out of monetary inducement during elections.
To reduce the costs that we are spending on election. You see, a lot of things, if we introduce this technology, it will help us. It will develop our society. It will develop us mentally, and the people, also voters, also we have another knowledge of to know who they want to vote for. Not the people just coming with the money or people with fame or whatever. We have a lot of people that they just have fame, but they don't have anything upset to give to people. You see, all this level, technology will minimize. To do is to restructure the country. That's desperation on the part. Then you make a political offices less attractive.
There is palpable fear that if the phenomenon of vote buying and selling is not nipped in the bud, the credibility of Nigeria's electoral system hangs dangerously in the balance, and political scientists say we must rise to the challenge. Juliet Buna, OSRC News.
APC has denied budgeting 6.5 trillion naira to compromise the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, security operatives, judicial officers, and by votes in the forthcoming general elections. The National Public Secretary of the party, Felix Moka, in a statement blamed the People's Democratic Party, PDP, for peddling the information. The APC spokesman said that the document did not emanate from the party, reiterating that the ruling party was focused on delivering the dividends of democracy to Nigerians in hope that they would reciprocate by supporting and voting for the party's candidates in 2023. He noted that APC is a law-abiding party and would not engage in any fraud and electoral malpractice suggested in the document. Moka urged Nigerians to disregard the document as sleazy propaganda, adding that APC remains committed to building an innovative system of free and credible elections as witnessed in the recently concluded governorship election in Ekiti State. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has warned operators of accredited computer-based test CBT centers to desist from extorting candidates or face severe sanctions. It said that its attention has been drawn to report that some operators charge higher than the 700 naira fee stipulated for services rendered to candidates. It reiterated that it would not condone any form of exploitation and would impose a 100,000 naira fine on corporates after they had been made to refund money collected. JAMB stated that the licensing at the request of the CBT centers was a measure to decongest its offices nationwide following usually crowded exercises during the process. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor, has condemned the Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawale for instructing the Commissioner of Police of the state to issue gun licenses to the public, saying it lacks such powers. At the joint exercise for the National Defense College and War Colleges of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, codenamed Exercise Grand National in Abuja, General Irabor expressed his disapproval at the measures taken by Governor Matawale to secure his state against insurgency. Irabor said the military was doing its best to ensure that peace returns to every part of the country and urged citizens to support security agencies to rid the country of terrorists. While the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has directed all privately run rehabilitation shelters and homes for trafficked persons nationwide to obtain clearance certificates within the next 30 days or risk shuts down. The Head Press and Public Relations, Stella Nezan, said the ultimatum, which takes effect from Wednesday, was handed down by the Director General, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, in Abuja at a meeting with a segment of the agency's stakeholders. The spokesperson of NAPTIP said the ultimatum is based on the powers given to the agency under the Trafficking in Persons Control of Activities of Organizations and Centers Regulations 2019 and the resolve of the agency to give more effect to it after the grace period earlier given to the organizations to comply has expired. The legislation, according to Dr. Waziri Azi, was necessitated by the disturbing cases of trafficking in persons by Nigerians under the guise of educational, cultural, and musical excursions, labor, migration, and sporting-related travels to foreign countries, especially the Middle East, Eastern, and Central Europe. And to the foreign scene now, leaders of the G7 group of the world's richest nations have met at a 3-day summit in Bavaria, southern Germany, with the war in Ukraine top of the agenda. They are expected to promise further military support for Kyiv and impose more sanctions on Moscow. Western unity over the war has faltered recently, with some leaders discussing long-term relationships with Russia and others stressing strong, lasting support for Ukraine. Boris Johnson urged EU leaders to boost their military support for Ukraine. Doi Ayegwusi reports.
Suggestion from Boris Johnson about the dress code, and before long, the leaders are mocking President Putin. The Canadian Prime Minister suggested they should mimic the Russian leader by taking their shirt off too and going horse riding as he has done. Beyond the jokes, the leaders of the world's richest countries are gathering to work out what to do next about Ukraine. There are differences of emphasis and approach here about how much and for how long Ukraine should be helped. The UK insists it must be for the long haul. The Prime Minister acknowledged, though some are tiring of it.
I think that the pressure is there and the anxiety is there, and we've got to be honest about that. The G7 has been solid and we continue to be solid. But in order to protect that unity, in order to make it work, you've got to have really, really honest discussions about the implications of what's going on.
These two men look like the best of friends, but in private, the Prime Minister emphasized to the French President any attempt to settle the conflict now, with Russian having stolen Ukrainian territory, would be a mistake. At this summit, the aim is to portray as much unity and resolve as possible as the conflict in Ukraine drags on and its cost back home, not least rising prices, become more obvious. President Biden, in conversation with the summit's host, the German Chancellor, stressed the sense of togetherness was imperative.
We have to stay together. Yeah. Because Putin has been counting on from the beginning. And somehow NATO would, and the G7 would splinter, but we haven't, and we're not going to. So can't let this aggression take the form it has and get away with it.
The fundamental truth for all of the leaders here is the democratic pressures that they face back home from their parties and their public. Boris Johnson is well aware of these matters because the leaders have to mold and flex their views to reflect their domestic audience, unlike their opponent, President Putin, who does not. The challenge then is how to stand together, how to move as one, not easy and not guaranteed in long term. Oladoyin Ayegbusi, Osrc News.
And now to sports. Sunshine Stars' hope of a top 3 finish in the 2021-2022 NPFL season is still realizable following a 2-1 win over MFM Football Club of Lagos. Playing at the Ondo State Sports Complex in Akure, Sunshine Stars opened scoring as early as the 12th minute through midfielder Aziz Ajagbe, who finished off a sweeping team move on the break, with Leonard Ugochukwu supplying the final ball. While Sunshine Stars dominated the first 45 minutes, the visitors mustered a chance before the break, forcing Japheth Opobo to a fingertip save in the 26th minute. The visitors resumed the second half with renewed energy. Regardless, Sunshine Stars doubled the advantage in the 61st minute through Braddon Ike, who smashed home from close range after a solo run. With 15 minutes on the clock, MFN substitute David Unduka pulled on back for the visitors, but it was too little too late. With 2 points adrift to third place Remo Stars, who lost 2-3 at Katsina United, Sunshine Stars must garner maximum point against Dakada, Atlant and Remo to be assured of a continental ticket. Before we go on the news tonight, a quick look at some of the highlights of the bulletin. President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated Justice Oluwakayode Ariwola as Chief Justice of Nigeria following the resignation of Justice Tanko Muhammad. Governor Oluwatimi Akeredolu has charged youth in Ondo State to make proper use of government empowerment programs for self-reliance. Assistant Inspector General of Police Mohammed Akira has resumed office in Akure with a warning to criminals to quit Ondo and Ekiti States. And from the foreign scene, G7 leaders have promised to reinforce Ukraine with military aid as Russia continues to resist mediation effort. And that's it on the news tonight. Thanks for watching. Good evening.